tonight, but still, it looks wet. I'm KIRO 7, pinpoint meteorologist Nick Allard.
It's 47 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Listen on demand. Go to mynorthwest.com and click podcasts. KIRO Radio 97.3 FM with Tom and Curly now on your drive home.
The KIRO Radio text line is brought to you by State Roofing.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on KIRO Radio. This is The Big Lead.
Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio. Welcome to the big show. My penultimate show before I go bye-bye for a while. Very, very excited about this. Monday, new knee. But you'll be in good hands. Todd Herman's going to be here with you. But we got, I told you yesterday, I was in such a wonderful mood yesterday. Everything was just clicking in the universe. And I said, I don't know how I can go away for a couple of weeks. Because right now, we're at the peak of our game here on the Dori Monson Show. But I guess God just has a way to even things out a little bit. And that's by forcing me medically off the air so that the crazy, wild-eyed people in this region will just have a chance in our scuffle. And with that as mere prelude, let's get right to the big lead.
The Big Lead. Top story.
You know what? Before I get to the top news story of the day, I did want to share with you. We've got a listener, incredibly talented guy named Dave Irish, and he sent us a new song, as he will do every once in a while. And if you were listening to the big show yesterday, you might have heard the concerned citizen, Peter Rogoff, the CEO of Sound Transit. You know, families are hurting. Car tabs, $200, $400, $600, even more dollars a year. And this is how sleazy the money grubbers' minds work. And I'm talking about Jay Inslee, the Democrat legislature. They won't give you back a penny. You voted for $30 tabs. They don't want you to get a penny of it back. But Peter Rogoff, who identified himself not as the CEO of Sound Transit, but he was identified as a concerned citizen, he had this ridiculous idea of how to make it easier for you if you have $600 car tabs.
There is clearly sticker shock. It's one of the reasons why, in addition to talking about not just addressing the depreciation schedule, but the board has been open to some of the discussions on how can we get motor vehicle excise tax payers to be able to pay in a more spread out fashion, in a way that they would pay off their credit card or pay for their car insurance, rather than write one big check one time, which is hard to budget for as a family. How do we spread out those bills?
So, in other words, instead of you having to pay $600 a year for car tabs, they're going to make it less painful and only make you pay $50 per month. Have you heard anything that stupid? But you know what that is? That is right from, in some sales businesses. The way they get people to buy things they can't afford is they say, oh, well, if you finance this new TV, if you finance it over 5 years, it'll only be $35 a month. You can't afford the $2,000? Well, we'll just finance it out 5 years. And of course, every time you make a payment, there's a service charge. Imagine what the service charge is going to be if you have monthly Sound Transit bills. This is the way their minds are thinking. Instead of actually trying to make it better, instead of actually being responsive to the voters who said $30 tabs, this is how they are responding. So anyway, very talented listener, Dave Irish, he wrote a little ditty about his the car tab debacle here in our region.
I'd like to drive my Rap with expired tabs, 'cause I voted for 30, but now they're playing dirty. Like to drive my Rap with expired tabs, 'cause I voted for 30, but now they're playing dirty. Tabs cost me $400. Makes me scream and holler. Seems like when I vote for something, sometimes it don't mean nothing. Gonna drive my Toyota on that downtown road. Somebody please fix those big potholes.
Now we can't be fixing potholes. We got billions in overruns to spend on sound transit, don't you know? We're building a $56 million overpass for pedestrians between Northgate and North Seattle Community College. And of course, there already is a freeway overpass with a sidewalk just 4 blocks south of where they're spending $56 million. I saw Jenny Durkin and Rogoff out there turning dirts with their shovels yesterday. And they're so tone deaf. Meanwhile, they just continue to screw over the voters who wanted $30 tabs. It's really pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic to watch all of this. I'm going to stay within the top story here because I'm also getting a little weary about all this hand-wringing. So what should we do about all this violence that led to the shooting in downtown Seattle? And I told you right after the shooting happened, before they had identified any suspects, everybody with a drop of common sense knew that it was a drug gang-related shooting. There's absolutely zero question about that. And so what I said is we got to allow cops to do their jobs. We have to stop the legalization of drugs in King County, which Dan Satterberg has done. And we've got to start putting criminals in jail, and preferably in prison, which is where you are if you're locked up for more than a year. So the two suspects who were on the run down in Vegas, Marquise Tolbert and William Tolliver, they have been charged with murder and assault. The prosecutors are asking that they be held without bail. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Now, you may remember that the mom of one of the kids, 24 years old, of William Tolliver, she talked to Channel 4, ComoNews.com, and she said that her kid was really a good kid, but the guy she was running with was a bad influence.
Do you think William and Marquise are together?
I can't say. I would hope not, that William's not running with him. But then again, I can't say because they've been friends forever.
But then this mom also said that her son wasn't a gang member.
My son, he's like a petty thief. He's in and out of stores, that type of stuff. He's not a bank robber or any type of...
Is he a killer?
No, none whatsoever.
He's a petty thief. He just robs stores, but not banks. And I'm sorry, it's that kind of parental attitude of, I'm going to minimize my criminal son's behavior by saying it's just a petty thief to go in and rob stores. These guys have a long history, 45 arrests between the two of them. We find out some of the details of these prior arrests that these guys had. In one of them, they ripped the necklace off a woman's neck. And, but Mom's just a petty thief. He just robbed stores. Now, he assaulted women while ripping their necklace off. These are criminals. And so, but I'm tired of this argument about what should we do? We need to put more money into programs. Now, we got to put more money into jails and prisons. We've got to stop the madness of legalizing drugs in King County. And that's on Dan Satterberg, the prosecutor. I told him when he announced on this radio show that sounded like a disastrous plan. And he said, well, do you think the path we're on was working? And I said, well, it was working a heck of a lot better than what we've had the last couple of years when we have cops who aren't allowed to bust open-air drug dealing in downtown Seattle. And so it's time for somebody, and that somebody usually is me. It's time to just identify who's really at fault here, along with the criminals themselves. And it is our prosecutor, Dan Satterberg. The decriminalization of drugs has been an absolute, abject failure. It is a failure. And they tell, well, we've got the LEAD program, and we can get people into programs. You've got shootouts in downtown Seattle. You got the Wild West between drug dealers and the gangs that peddle drugs, because King County has become the most fertile place to be a drug dealer because the customers aren't going to get arrested. So you got more customers than ever before. That's why we got more homeless, vagrant addicts than ever before. That's why we have shootouts like the one we had a couple of weeks ago. And all this nonsense about let's spend money. I told you, and I'll go back to this. Well over, and depending on the study, somewhere between 75 and 95% of boys and young men who are in gangs do not have a father at home. There is no amount of money we can spend that's going to fix that. Just doesn't happen. You cannot have government swoop in. Oh, here's $1 billion. Let's fix the fact that you've had no positive male role model in your lives for the last 15 years. But we'll start a program and we'll fix your life, even though your brain has been hardwired the wrong way because of the lack of a solid male parental influence. Oh, I know all this is so controversial for me to say. I actually said a male influence is important. But we don't have genders anymore, Dori. We're all one fluid gender. Men are women and women are men. And the kids, it doesn't matter if they have a mom and a dad. Yeah, it matters. It matters. We've seen the breakdown. Between 75 and 95%, I looked at a bunch of studies last night. Between 75% and 95% of boys and young men in gangs do not have a father at home. Now, that's very sad. Money's not going to fix that. And sadly, for these boys who get hardwired for a disastrous life because of the lack of a positive male role model in their lives, the most efficient way that we can deal with this is if they go aberrant, if they commit violent crimes, we got to lock them up to protect us. Money does not solve systemic problems. Believe me on this. So I've had it with all the debate that's going on, and we'll step up patrols. Yeah, but you're going to keep drugs legalized? Satterberg and the judges who have revolving doors in their courtrooms, they are responsible for these crimes and murders. Not quite as much as the killers themselves, but Satterberg and the judges supposedly don't have minds that have been corrupted by a lack of positive role models. They're actually making these decisions of their own free will to legalize drugs. I've heard all these debates the last few days about what to do. Stop the legalization of drugs, increase police patrols, let the cops do their jobs. Let's get rid of judges who have revolving doors. Let's get rid of Satterberg if he refuses to enforce drug laws. And let's invest money in jails so we can lock up criminals. There you have it. Problem solved. Next up in the big lead.
The big lead. I sense a Dori rant coming on.
Now, I want to follow up. You heard it in the top of the hour that school teacher, I mentioned this briefly on the show yesterday, actually a school principal down in Camas, down in southwest Washington, who went online a couple of Sundays ago, right after Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed, and the woman said that Kobe Bryant deserved to die because he was a rapist. Now, Kobe Bryant had a criminal incident. Charges were dropped in 2003, so 17 years ago. The victim, the alleged victim, dropped the charges against him, and they settled civilly. Nobody knows for what. But what the principal said was that, not going to lie, this was right after the helicopter crash. Not going to lie, seems to me that karma caught up with a rapist today. Why was this so awful? Well, because, first of all, he wasn't convicted of rape, but let's go beyond that. His 13-year-old daughter was on that helicopter, and he seems, in the 17 years since that incident, to have been living a life where he was trying to mentor a lot of young kids, where by all accounts he was a really good father to his 4 girls, that after stumbling badly, it seems like he was a loving husband who was loved very much by his wife. And we have a high school principal in Camas essentially saying Kobe deserved to die because of an incident 17 years ago. What about the other 7 people on that helicopter? Did all of them deserve to die? Did karma catch up with all 9 of them because of this incident? It's an unfathomable level of stupidity. Lisa Sedge-Cora is the principal of Camas High School.
This was a situation where I didn't think before I posted, and I'm terribly regretful about that.
She told KATU in Portland about this.
I'm embarrassed that I made such a poor decision and let down my students. We communicated with our community last night, my teachers yesterday, and then the students today. I am hopeful that my regret will garner me some trust moving forward.
But here's the thing. You know, a school principal, all school administrators, they know they have to deal with the evils of social media, the bullying, the intemperate comments, the things that never should have been posted. And then she posted, apparently sounding somewhat gleeful, that Kobe was killed because of something he did 17 years ago, and I guess not recognizing that was karma also killing that 13-year-old daughter of his? Was karma killing the other 7 people on that helicopter? So anyway, the good news for us taxpayers, that principal is now getting a paid vacation courtesy of you and me. Students were threatening walkouts of the school, and now the superintendent of the Camas School District says the principal is on paid administrative leave while the district conducts an investigation into what happened. I just told you what happened. The district has to conduct an investigation? She posted something really stupid. It ticked off a lot of people. It was a moronic thing. There's your investigation. Take the transcript of my show. Save the taxpayers a lot of money there. How about that? And that is your big lead for today.
The Big Lead on KIRO Radio.
We're going to check the news for you, and then, oh my goodness, the president, the day after acquittal, he had a lot to say this morning. We'll boil it down to the craziest and the best coming up next.